just clicked on this video, you're here to learn about the circulatory system. Now before we begin, I do want to take the opportunity to introduce myself. My name is MJ. My real name is actually Manjot, but most people call me MJ. It's just always been that way. It's shorter, a little easier to remember. And with that being said, let's begin. So here is a picture representation of the circulatory system. We can see here we have the human body, and within it we have what you will soon learn to be the circulatory system. Now I know it looks complicated. Seems like, wow, how can I understand this? This is going into really deep levels of science. But I assure you, we are going to focus on the major functions and break this down one by one. Okay, let's clear this out of the way. Maybe move this image over here. Alright, major functions. What are they? So we've all been wondering what we clicked on this video to see. So we type it out here, major functions. Maybe give a little space to type. Alright, so the first major function of the circulatory system is to carry nutrients needed by the body to the organ systems. So by organ systems, what I mean is the lungs. So the job of the circulatory system is to carry nutrients needed by the lungs, your stomach, in order to function. In the case of the lungs, it's in order to breathe, and in the case of the stomach, it's in order to digest your food. The way the stomach and the lungs are able to do this is by getting nutrients and energy carried by the circulatory system. Now the second major function is to carry waste, typo there, waste away, and I'm going to capitalize away from the organs. So this is the waste that the organs develop over time after doing their function that needs to be thrown away. So now, overall, the way I want you to really think about the circulatory system is in the following manner. I want you to view the human body, first let me get this out of the way. I want you to view the human body as one big city. So this whole representation here, let's think about the human body, you and me, as one big city, and I want you to view the circulatory system as a set of highways. What it really is a transport system. It starts off over here. This lovely structure that I've circled is the heart. So it starts off at the heart, and that's where we're going to start, and then it's essentially a network of highways that go to all the different organ systems and tissues in your body. It goes down here towards your legs. It goes up towards your brain, which is an organ system. It goes towards your lungs. It goes over here towards your stomach. And this is all to carry nutrients that those organs need to function. So, like I said, we're going to think about it like a city and a network of highways. So, what are these highways? So, what are these highways? I'm going to use this same representation here throughout our entire lesson in the same picture for the circulatory system. So, what are these highways? So, the first highway we're going to start out with is called arteries. So, arteries are essentially blood vessels, is a scientific term. But another way I can have you guys think about it is that it's a series of main roads in our city. And remember, the body, the human body as a whole, is like one big city. And the arteries are a series of main roads that lead to the organs. These roads have cars on them, or in our case, red blood cells and white blood cells, which we will get in platelets, which we will get into later. But these cells carry the nutrients on these main roads called arteries to the organs so that the organs can function. So I'll just write in here, main roads that lead to the organs have red blood cells, white blood cells, and a fancy word called platelets. before I can continue, that needs to be explained. The heart, and let me just get rid of some of this stuff here, is a pump. And what I mean by that is that it's kind of like the gas station in your city. And once again, I'm going to circle the heart as it is right here. And it's a pump for our city. It's where the cars, and in our example, the cars are the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and platelets go to get fueled up. Just like a gas station. You would get there to get fuel. So let's write this out so we have a visual. So the heart, it's central for the circulatory system, and it is often known as the pump. And for our purposes in our city, which is known as the human body, this is where the red blood cells go, white blood cells go to get pumped out. Fill up on gas like cars and get pumped out so that they can go towards the organs. So what the heart does, it essentially pushes the blood, which is basically like the transport system of all the red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets. When you put all that together, we call that blood. So blood is just a broad term for RBCs, which is red blood cells, WBCs, which are white blood cells, platelets, and this little thing that we like to call plasma, which just is a slippery material inside of our arteries that the red blood cells and white blood cells and platelets use to now bump into each other on their journey to the organs to give nutrients. So the heart pumps out all of the red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets towards the organs, just like the gas station of our city. That's where our journey begins. Okay, let's say that we all start out at the heart. So we have some red blood cells, we have some white blood cells, and we start out at the heart here, and we take our way over to an organ in the body. Let's pick any organ. Let's pick the stomach. So I'm going to draw a little stomach here in yellow, and say that's the stomach. So if I'm a red blood cell, which is kind of like a car, and I need to make it to the stomach, which is part of a neighborhood in my city, I need to first go to the heart to get pumped up, because the heart is a pump, and fill up on gas so that I can get pushed out and drive down the highway, which is the artery. Remember, the arteries are the highways, which are really like vessels in our body that take nutrients to our organs, and I need to head down to the stomach to drop off the nutrients, kind of like a ship or a truck. A loading truck needing to drop off its load somewhere in the city, like the Walmart. So I head over and I finally make it to the stomach to where I can unload my materials. So now that I'm unloading my materials, I can get into what the functions of a red blood cell are, a white blood cell are, and a platelet are, as I promised earlier. Like magic, now if you look to our right, you see I have a picture here of an artery. So you can see that it's red, meaning that it is an artery, because I told you the arteries are in red on our picture on the left with our big body, which is like a big city. And within it we have white blood cells, platelets, here, and red blood cells. Now the function of red blood cells is to carry oxygen to the organs, as I've shown you here, and you can think about it as the delivery truck on our city roads of the human body. For white blood cells, they usually fight invaders, so they can be thought of as police cars on city roads that kind of control the city, and whenever you have a germ or an invader in your body, the policemen get out of their white blood cell cars and they attack. And lastly, we have platelets. And what platelets do is that they plug up cuts when we are bleeding. So you can think of them as kind of pothole road workers that you see filling up the potholes for us when the other cars are driving by. So now, once these three transport vehicles, the red blood cell, the white blood cell, make it to the stomach, and I'm going to go back to our original picture here and point towards our stomach. function that I described of the circulatory system. So once the materials get dropped off, the nutrients get dropped off to the organs, what's the next step? The next step is to carry the waste products that the organs have back after they unload their materials back away from the organs to clear the area, to clear city streets, in a sense, if you will. So just like the circulatory system clears the city streets, I should also clear the board here a bit to start explaining the second major function of the circulatory system. So let's see here, as long as I don't get lost. Okay, so time to clear. So let's clear this out of the way, just as the circulatory system would when it reaches its organ system, such as the stomach. So, what does the clearing? So, in order to clear, blood gets taken away by our image here, by veins. Now, veins are in blue, so I'm circling a vein here. And if we follow it along to see its name, it's the iliac vein. So what veins do is they take blood from the organ and take away all of the waste with it from the organ, so from that neighborhood or from that Walmart store, which is equivalent to the organ, and take it back and clear the area. Here's a more up-close picture of a vein, specifically a vein in the leg. The names are not important, don't worry about them, but veins are blue, and the reason we make those vessels blue is to show that they do not have any oxygen in them. Remember, the red blood cells were the delivery trucks. They already dropped off the oxygen because it's a nutrient that the stomach needs to function, and now it's on its way back, so there's no more longer oxygen in the blood, and it needs to be carried back. So the reason it's blue is because the red blood cells do not have oxygen. So let's write that down. So vein functions carry blood, and I should write in capital, back to the heart. And when it does go back to the heart, that's when the blood, and remember, blood just means a group of red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, and a couple other things that are beyond this lesson. And once they all go back to the heart, they can get refueled. So essentially, that is the overall major function of the circulatory system. Now, there is another component. Once you do go back towards the heart, there is another system involved with the lungs, where the red blood cells do need to reload with oxygen. That'll be a topic for another lesson. For today's lesson, the major thing was just to understand that the circulatory system is the major transport system of the body. The body can be viewed as a city, where the heart is the pump. It's kind of like the gas station, where all of the vehicles, which are the red blood cells, which is the delivery trucks, the white blood cells, which are kind of like the police cars, and the platelets, which are kind of like the construction workers to plug up any potholes or rips within the artery, start off and then get pumped out, travel along the main roads of the city, which starts off as the arteries, towards the organ, which is the neighborhood or store where the nutrients need to be delivered, such as the stomach, so the store or the neighborhood can do its job. And then, once they get there, they pick up waste products and take them in the veins all the way back to the heart. And usually that blood is deoxygenated, meaning it doesn't have any oxygen in it or has a lot less, and that gets refueled within the heart via going to the lungs. But the lung component of the circulatory system will be a topic for another lesson. Right now, let's just to solidify the main concepts and build a foundational understanding. So I hope I could help out. Once again, my name is MJ, and I hope this video served you well.